everyone, it's your girl Kat, and I am sitting here with a special guest today. We're here at Elegant Saturdays at the AC Hotel in Tampa, Florida. So we're going to start it off. We're going to let you introduce yourself to the people.
Okay.
Let you introduce yourself. Let them know who you are, and then we'll get into the vibe.
So how y'all doing? Good evening. Good morning. Hey, my name is Orson Prince-Charles. I'm from Tampa, Florida. I'm a former 7-year NFL vet, and I have a nonprofit called Orson Charles Family Foundation. And I have a construction company where I do custom home, subdivision, and new construction.
That's awesome. So you already told everyone that you're from Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how did you get into football? Or how did you get into sports in general?
So it's actually a funny story, and I actually started late when I was 12. So how I got into ball was my mom was from the island, she's from Dominica, and we would always have to do chores.
Okay.
So after school, I'll go home, and it seemed like it was always something new. Wash the dishes, fold your clothes, do the laundry. It felt like it was always something to do. Yeah, and season it up. So one day I finished my chores early, and I just heard a whole bunch of noise across the street.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, well, as long as I'm back home before light, I'm good. So, and all my chores was done. So I go across the street, and it was football. And I was like, oh, what is this? And the coach was like, hey, just get your parent permission to do it. And that's all she wrote. So I actually went out there for the first time and just fell in love with it because I had so much anger built up because I didn't know my father. So the coach was like, hey, you can go hit him and not get in trouble. I was like, huh? I can hit him, not get in trouble, and this is football? Oh yeah, sign me up. So that's how I actually really got started in football.
Okay. So I know just being from Tampa, I'm from Tampa as well, and a lot of these extracurricular activities or sports activities, I feel like our children or our youth forget about the education part of it. So how do you, one, balance it, but how do you also just remember the importance of just having an education by going? Because I know a lot of kids that say, I want to go to college to play football. But what happens if you don't make it to the NFL? What are you going to fall back on?
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I do, because I have a lot of, I did a series of events I call the locker room, where the kids can feel heard, and then I did a day in the life of NFL player. So all these kids say that they want to play in the NFL, but really don't really know or understand what it takes. So I get them in by talking about football, but when they come in, I'm giving them a journal. Hey, how are you? Don't tell me, write it out. So I'm having them express their emotions so it's not bottled up. I'm feeding them because I don't know if they was able to eat, but then I'm jam-packing so much stuff into them. So one thing, I have Vern Gwynn. He's a VP at Truett. He sits on my board. So we're teaching them financial literacy. I'm bringing in the policemen so we can bridge that gap between the black and brown in our community. And then I'm also educating on something new. So one thing that I'm going to be coming up and doing is teaching them cybersecurity, teaching them trading. Yeah. So yes, I bring you in for ball, but we have to start thinking outside of ball because it's not going to last forever. Right. Like nobody leaves the game on their own terms. Right. But I don't want you to wait until football done for you to start thinking. No, think now. Right. Because these young kids, they have the world in a fingertip. Absolutely. And they're so smart, but we don't sit there and take the time to really understand, hey, who are you? Right. What do you like? Right. Besides ball, like that take care of itself. But what do you like doing? If you didn't have ball, what's your purpose? Right. What's your passion?
Right. And it takes a community. So I love to see when people give back to the community because you can't get everything from home, especially if you're coming up from a single parent household. You just never know. So you mentioned the kids. Is this an organization? Are you just going hand-picking specific kids?
Yeah, so I have my website, and we do just a series of events. And how I started the foundation, it's Orson Charles Family Foundation. How I started that, it was really about my grandmother and my mom. So we used to get barrels of clothes and send it to Dominica because they didn't have any clothes. And then I just my grandmother passed the torch to my mother passed it to me. And that's how it's supposed to be. Like they start something and we have the freshness, we have the new ideas, we got to take it to the next level. So when I got done with ball, I sat with my pastor and I was like, hey, what do you think that ball is done or what's next? And he was like, hey, Orson, I don't think our Father created you just to play ball. I think that was a platform for you to achieve your purpose, but I don't think that that's it. He was like, hey, once you go serve, once you start serving, you start to realize that it's bigger than you. It's not about you. You're serving somebody else. And then you'll find out, hey, what do you really want to do? So how I created the nonprofit was, hey, what did I have when I was a kid? And what didn't I have? Let me go pour that into the kids now. So we do a series of events, what I just told you. Another tier of the Orson Charles Family Foundation is given to the single mothers. So I did a peak praise and Pilates a couple of months ago, and they loved it. Because I'm a firm believer, if you feel good, you look good, you do good, you attain good. And then I had series of single moms, my mom, I flew her in, and just give their testimony. Like, that's how you really learn. Like, if you hear somebody overcoming something, they're like, oh, I can do it too. And then be patient with us. And then I have something with our men.
Okay.
Hey guys, we have a responsibility. We got to get back to our post, and we got to lead our people, lead our community.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that we have the tools, but we have to get back into that community because it's going to take all of us to do what we were called to do.
Right. And is that located here in Tampa or?
So it's in Atlanta, but I got to come back home. So meeting with a lot of people here, and then just talking with Eddie, we're starting to come up with ideas on what we can do to bring it back home. So because everything that I created in Atlanta, I have to come back home.
Absolutely. And you can always invite the Skratch Cartel family out.
I definitely will.
I just recently moved back to Tampa, so I just love to see people coming back, and like I said, just giving back to the community because it's very important.
It is.
Important. You can't forget about home.
You can't.
It's one place you can't.
You can't. But tell me why you came back home.
So the interview flipped. Okay. So I came back home. to be close to my family, obviously. I lived in Atlanta for 15 years, and I just felt like I wasn't serving my community. I can relate to those kids on different levels, but what about my nieces and my nephews and upcoming kids that I know that don't have the opportunity that the Atlanta kids have.
Yeah.
So I took that into consideration, and I moved here, and that's what my new story started.
Oh, I'm proud of you. Congrats.
So you mentioned Dominica. It's Miami Carnival season. So what's on your playlist? Give us what's on your playlist where you're getting ready for meetings?
So to be honest, a lot of this American music I didn't grow up listening to.
Okay.
Like on Saturdays, like we'll have like Bob, like we'll have Wick. It's a Dominican artist back from Dominica.
Okay.
Like we have all these old school reggae that was talking about something, talking about love, talking about hope.
Right.
Really encouraging.
Yes.
And that's what I really grew up while I was doing chores. That's what I grew up in. So now I don't listen to a lot of these music because they're talking about calling y'all outside your name. They're talking about, hey, all life is about is getting money, chain, and I don't want to listen to that. No.
Yeah.
So if I'm listening to music, because sometimes I do ride in the car silent and let my thoughts just run, I'm listening to Tamla Mann.
Okay.
I'm listening to William McDowell. I'm listening to Bob.
Yes.
I'm listening to Afro. If I'm listening to music, that's what I'm listening to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
give us what's your favorite song right now?
That's hard. That's a very hard one because it depends on what mood I'm in.
Okay.
Like if I'm going to go work out, sometimes I'm listening to William. Oh, that's a hard one. I got to get back to you on that because it's not just one song.
Right.
Because you can listen to the same song and depending on the season that you're in, it's gonna hit you different.
Okay.
Like one time I was listening to a song going somewhere, and all of a sudden tears was coming out of my eyes, and I'm like, bro, I done heard this song so many times, but it was the fact that I was going through something where it resonated and hit me just a little bit different.
Music is very powerful.
It is.
And that's one of the reasons why we're here today. We're at Elegant Saturday, and we just wanted to just vibe, have something nice where you can just have a good time. You don't have to be in a nightclub. Yeah.
No, so I'm not gonna lie. Just coming here, I love the vibe.
Yeah.
I really love it because we're getting older. Why are we still in the club? I don't need to do that. I want to have conversation and still hear myself because a lot of times that's where a lot of business still happens, just like the golf course.
Absolutely.
But you're not doing none of that in the club. By the time you pay $40 to get in, then if you do have a cocktail, you already in the hole $100, and then I can't even converse.
Well, in Tampa, but in Atlanta, you can shake hands with a councilman and can get a deal.
That is true. That is true. But even then, that's like a speakeasy type of joint. No councilman is gonna be in a club.
Oh no, man.
You know what? It's Hot Atlanta. That's what they call it, Hot Atlanta. That is very true. Yeah, but I don't club anymore. I don't go to the club. if it's not purposeful, if it's not intentional,
Yeah.
like I'm at the crib, I'm in my own sanctuary, I'm preparing for the next day, like I'm perfectly fine with that. But then now we got to be careful because now these young kids are shooting up everything. And it's like, no, come on, young man. Like, hey, let's sit down. What's really going on? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not alone. Like, I've been there. I've probably done that.
Right.
Let me show you on how to get out of that. So, yeah.
Okay. So what advice would you give, like, any young kid that's coming up today that are maybe introduce them into some kind of outlet or someone that is there and just don't really know the next step?
If we're taking sports out, because I believe that if we're only talking about sports, we're only talking to a certain amount of kids, because not every kid is going to play sports.
Right.
I believe if you want to have an outlet, and this is something I do every night, get a journal and journal. That's therapy in itself. And then find somebody that you can talk to.
Yeah.
Like that stigma as far as black men, like, don't cry, or that stigma as far as, like, we don't go or need therapy. No, let's scratch that.
Right.
Because our previous ancestors were suppressing so much. No, it's time for us to break free.
Like that.
Yeah, because we know more,
Right.
right? And if we want to go further, if we know that these young kids and us are the future, now let's talk about it, because we had that much more on our shoulder.
Right.
And let's not talk about the black woman, like
you
y'all are the least appreciated species, like, and that what irks me.
Right.
Like, not just our culture, but not appreciating a black one. That irks me. So any kid, male or female, I would say get a journal.
Right.
Write out your thoughts. Get a therapist. Talk about it.
Yeah.
Understand that you're not alone.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, be okay being different.
Yeah.
Our Father, our Heavenly Father created us all to be different.
Yes.
Like, I can't go be you, and you can't go be me.
Right.
We have two different paths. And that's why I shouldn't even be angry about you accomplishing what you accomplished, because I need you to go do that, and you need me to go do that.
Right.
It's only one of us.
Come together and make it.
Exactly. But we know that because our culture talks about our village, right? And it takes all of us to continue to keep going. So one thing that we created was, yes, we understand that it takes a village to raise a child, but I believe it takes a community to keep that village thriving.
Absolutely.
Like, it's time for us to thrive now. So yeah, those would be my things. Like, get a journal, get a therapist, and like, get mentors, get disciples, like, and understand that you're not going through it alone. And be different, be you, because the world needs you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I know this interview isn't about me, but I actually, I run a dance studio and dance company, and I actually implement the journal. I give them a journal, and I don't look at them. I just let them, after each rehearsal, each practice, maybe after a combination that I just taught them, I want you to write down how that combination made you feel.
Oh.
Did you feel defeated? Did you feel unprepared? Did you feel like you was on top of it? Just write it down.
Where did you get that idea from?
So I got the idea from college. In college, we used to have to just write our choreography down. It was never about feelings.
Oh, wow.
But that's how I learned how to choreograph. I would write down my choreography, but also in my notes, I would write down how I felt. Like, okay, I would write this, I could have did this better. I could have did this better. And I was like, all my notes, I was so hard on myself. I never wrote, oh my gosh, my professor just said, those jumps was perfect. Your energy was amazing. Your attention was great. I didn't write that in my book, in my journal. I started to.
Why is that though? Like, why do we only focus on the negative things?
Exactly, because that's kind of how, I don't want to say that's how we was brought up,
Yeah.
but that's kind of how black community is brought up. That's what we focus on, because we want to do better, but we don't know how to, we keep it here instead of acknowledging, if that makes sense. But so I started doing that. I started my senior year, I started writing down my choreography, how it made me feel, and so now I implement that in my classroom, because just like black men or young black boys, black girls, they need the same love as well.
They do. And how receptive are those young ladies?
They love me. At first, they're a little skeptical because, again, I feel like just being brought up in a certain home, they don't really know how to receive love. So after a while, they get comfortable and they see that I'm not there to hurt them. I'm giving them an outlet. They trust me. So if I can just do that with hundreds more, it'll be awesome.
It's gonna come. And it's so beautiful because you're giving them what you had.
Yes.
And that's how all this mission work that we're doing as far as our nonprofit, we're doing what we had or didn't have and know that this is what they need.
Right.
So yeah, kudos to you. They need to do a session on you.
Really?
Because just hearing about this dance studio and just your story, that's dope, because a lot of people are not going to do that.
Right.
They're going to keep it to themselves and they're going to be like, no, I don't need to go do that. I don't want to go do that. And that's selfish.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that's selfish on this earth, and it's like, how are you even happy?
Right.
Like, why do you even think that this world revolves around you?
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah, kudos to you. That's dope. That's
I
dope.
learned that in college. Just being in Atlanta, just being around people who just like to share information. Because guess what? You can't do what I do.
I can't.
And I can't do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So why not share the information? We can always work together. It's never a competition.
Yep.
It shouldn't be a competition.
Mm-hmm. It shouldn't. We're not here to compete with each other.
Absolutely.
But once again, in our culture, that's what we feel that we have to do.
So we gotta change that.
Yeah, we do. So how do we change that?
We're gonna start today. We just changed it.
Let's do it. I'm proud of you. Great job.
Well,
Great
thank you
job.
for your time. This was great. I learned a lot. And thank you for, sharing what you do. And hopefully we will see you more in Tampa.
We will.
Hopefully you'll come back to Elegant Saturdays.
I will. I definitely will.
see you.
This is a vibe. This is definitely a vibe.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right.